morning. Thank you for coming to our session on TeacherFolio. We hope that these tools will be very helpful to you. So we're going to take time to go through all the tools, have a variety of different tasks for you so you can get to see how to use the tools with your teachers, and we hope this will be helpful to you in planning and implementing your programs. So let's get started.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. We're very, very excited to be here with you. And as we all know, for those of you who have been with STARTALK for a long time, that this is a very, very evolutionary program. We learn from one another, and we take the feedback that we get from you very, very seriously. And one of the things that we wanted to try to do and start off is in a semi-pilot sort of way, and to introduce you to these new materials, is to look at TeacherFolio. Now, we want to emphasize that this is both for use in student and teacher programs, but as we're going to talk about today, we are going to look at things that will help you for certain things like classroom observation and other things. So, believing in backward design, so I want you to tick that on your box that we did this. At the end of the workshop today, we want to you to be able to define the purpose of the TeacherFolio and to explain the purposes of the various tools that we are going to supply you with today. And then get a good handle on using the tools to write lesson plans and evaluate teacher performance, because that's basically what we're all about. And we want to stress that. We want you to use these tools, and we're also going to actually elicit your help if any of you would like to say, you know, we're really serious about this. This is a great need fulfilled, and if you want to help pilot us these tools and give us feedback later on in the program, that would be really, really helpful. And we also want you to use the tools to facilitate the professional development, which we all know is a very, very important part of our program. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what TeacherFolio is all about. As we've mentioned, we keep using this analogy of a set of tools that you can use in both of your programs. And they will help you document the work that's being done, not only in your STARTALK program, but we want you to think beyond STARTALK. We want you to think about programs that you'll be that are part of your everyday life as language teachers. We want those to be used as well. The other thing is that individual teachers who are in your program can start using these as evidence of professional growth and learning. And in that way, they can use these tools to aid in the development of a professional portfolio for your teachers. Again, this is still a voluntary part. This is a new thing this year. And what we want you to do is to look at these tools as things that will strengthen and build consistency among the STARTALK programs. And especially for the fact that lots of times we see people working across and among programs, and we therefore would like to use these tools as something that can help standardize the work that you do. Today, we're talking about this year that we're rolling out this idea of development and implementation. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the developmental tools, and then Jennifer is going to talk about the implementation. You will see that the content in this might not be new to you, but it has been reformatted or repurposed. And as Laura said in the keynote today, this is from a lot of thinking, a lot of committee work, and a lot of feedback from folks like you, and that we want to thank you for that. So again, you'll see certain themes and things recurring. The other thing that's very, very important is we have, as you know, our bedrock principles. And the principles, STARTALK principles that I know you know a lot about, they're on practically every document you've ever received, are something that you are also going to see are going to go through, are going to permeate the tools that we will be using. So what I'd like to do now is take you through some of the tools, and I'm just going to go through the list briefly, and then as we go through them in depth, Lori will pass out the materials, because I got to tell you folks, there's a lot of trees that are labeled STARTALK, and because we have a lot of paper. But one of the things that we wanted to do not only in this workshop is to have you get a hands-on feel for them, because they are tools and we want them to use them. Also, that all of this is online. So you're going to get both of those things. So understand that if you happen to misplace them, or you say, wow, these are really good, I'd like another copy, that you will be able to get them online. And what we're going to talk about as we go through these is just to give you what the documents are. We're going to have an introduction to TeacherFolio. Then we're going to give you a My World STARTALK model curriculum that has actually been used to create a sample lesson plan. And then we've got blank templates for you, which is the common STARTALK lesson plan template. And you can use this in a number of ways. If you want to get started with your team leader to talk about programs or your lesson planning, you can go ahead and use this as a common device, as a starting point for your conversation. The other thing that I do want to stress, and you will learn this later on at your team leader meeting, that STARTALK is requiring lesson planning to be done in this format. So this is going to be very important. And you'll learn this, I don't want to get ahead of myself, you will learn this in your team leader meeting today if you go to that. The next is the STARTALK Annotated Lesson Plan, and we're going to go through that. And it's basically the same annotation, but it's going to tell you some of the hows and whys. And the STARTALK sample lesson plan written for the My Word unit. And that is actually online. We don't have a copy of this for you today, but you will be able to find that online. And we're also going to have a STARTALK lesson plan checklist for use by the teacher as a self-assessment tool. We're also going to have, again, an implementation that Jennifer's going to take you through, the STARTALK endorsed principles and practice, examples of practice and evidence, classroom look-fors, and a teacher portfolio peer/self-assessment tools for noting evidence that STARTALK endorsed principles are actually being used in the classroom. And lastly, an observation/note-taking tool to aid observers in documenting student and teacher behaviors. So having said that, why don't we go ahead and start to look at the tools in depth. And if we could start off passing out the STARTALK model curricula. And that will be it's the only one that's marked 2014. Now, one of the things that you are going to see with this is actually a model curriculum, because one of the things that we want all of you to see and teachers to see is that we're looking actually at an integrated system here. And so if someone has a larger unit, this is what they are going to actually draw their lesson plans from. In other words, what you're being given here is an example of a larger map, of a larger curricula that would cover probably an entire program. And these then would be what would be used to start the lesson planning process. Okay? So you can go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, why don't we go ahead and move on to the annotated. And Lori, that will be the one I wrote annotated on the stack pile for the first one. Okay, folks, what we've actually done is moved to a little bit more of a micro here, getting into the idea of lesson planning. And one of the things that we've noticed from a lot of the STARTALK visits that we have conducted is that oftentimes getting down to where what we say the rubber meets the road is what the lesson plan is looking like is something that we probably needed to do a better job with. in supplying good guidance, in supplying lesson planning to help you and to help your teachers that you train. And if you go ahead and look at this, you're going to see some similarities between this and the curriculum template. And we want you to see that. We want you to see that there is an alignment in the different documents that you are getting. So if you go ahead, you can see the first page of this for the template. You have the lesson and the learning episodes and how these are defined. And also some questions to consider before and during lesson planning. A lot of the purpose of these tools is to give guidance during the actual process. If we turn to page 2, we get into the idea of what is presented in the different stages. And if you look at stage 1, what will the learner be able to do with what they know by the end of this lesson? So again, this is something that you've seen, similar to the curriculum template. And what we have done is to put in the do and the know things that we think are helpful to go into these blocks, so that when your teachers or you are developing lesson plans, they can match that with the curriculum template. And so all the parts are starting to synchronize together. Okay? Moving on to stage 2, you get into this idea of how will you know that individual students have met the learning targets. So this was when we get into our assessment, our feedback, these types of things that will go into the stage 2. And lastly, stage 3, when we get into the classroom activities, one of the things that we know that sometimes teachers have difficulty doing is sort of portraying what the classroom is going to actually look like in terms of activities. And so this is supplied for you to actually work that. Okay, we're going to be passing out a lesson planning checklist, because what we have done so far is introduced you to the template. And again, the stage 1, 2, and 3, which you see time and time again. And what Jennifer is passing out now and Lori is passing out is a lesson planning checklist that provides you with these can-do statements for teachers to guide them in completing the different stages, and also guidance in designing appropriate classroom activities. So again, what you're going to start seeing is these tools and these templates can be used in tandem with one another. And you, as teacher developers, can help your teachers use these tools in an appropriate way. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, who is going to take us through the implementation.
Okay, we divided this up into design, development and implementation. And I think it's very important to make sure that people know how to design from the STARTALK principles. We have a lot of feedback from programs, from teachers that say, yes, they know the STARTALK principles on paper, but they don't know how to design from them. And as somebody that works with teachers all the time in training, in service, and also pre-service certification, I found a lot that teachers don't know how to design either from standards or from principles like these. So it was really important for a number of people who were working on these tools to see that there was a pairing between the design and implementation. What do these principles look like, both in design of the lesson plan, and then what does it look like in terms of evidence? How do you know when students have provided that kind of evidence? What kind of evidence and tasks do teachers need to create to show the principle, to show that that evidence has happened? So that's what these tools coming up do. And we hope that you find them helpful. Okay. First, the STARTALK endorsed principles. Now, we all know the principles, but just to get us started, I'd like us to think at our tables and discuss what these principles mean to you. Just in your own ideas and your own words, what that looks like. What do you think these principles look like in action? Okay, so here they are in all their glory. Implementing a standards-based, thematically designed, organized curriculum, facilitating a learner-centered classroom, using the target language and providing comprehensible input, integrating language, content, and culture, adapting and using age-appropriate materials, conducting performance-based assessment. So here are those. Now, before we watch the lesson on brush painting, I'd like us to take about, maybe about 5 minutes, a little more, to talk about what these principles are, all right, at your table. And maybe if you want to narrow it down, how about using the target language and providing comprehensible input, integrating language, culture, content, and facilitating a learner-centered classroom. Okay, so if you want to just concentrate on 3, do that, but talk about what these look like in terms of evidence in your classrooms. What would teachers have to do to show that they demonstrated these principles? What would the learners need to do? All right, so let's talk about that for about 5 minutes at your tables. Okay, we're going to bring it on back. I hope this preliminary discussion will help set the stage for what you're about to see in about the next hour. So we're going to be using the tools, the implementation tools focus quite a great deal on the STARTALK principles. So this kind of sets the stage as a little springboard for all the pieces, all the tools that you're about to see. So we'll do a full-fledged tour of the tools now. So to get us started, we're going to watch just a short excerpt of a lesson on brush painting. And the question that I have for you is, do you see evidence of the STARTALK principles? And which ones?
沾水，沾水，好，毛笔湿了，毛笔湿了，毛笔湿了。老师在跟你讲，吸水。吸水，你有一张纸，吸水，吸水，会不会？会啊，吸水，好，我们沾墨，会不会？拿一张纸，吸水，刚刚是沾水，吸水。好，我们沾墨，沾墨，墨汁，墨汁，这是笔，用笔尖去沾墨。好，不是这样子，这样子。好，老师给你们看，用笔尖，哪里是笔尖？对，笔尖。沾墨，沾墨，不要整个放下去，不要全部下去，笔尖沾墨，好，笔尖沾墨，在你们的报纸上。
Okay, let's just take 1 minute really quick to discuss at your tables. Which STARTALK principles did you see? Which STARTALK principle did you think you see? What evidence of those STARTALK principles did you see? Okay, let's go. Okay, let's hear some of your thoughts on this very short excerpt.
Target language and
Target language.
But not necessarily comprehensible input.
Some comprehensible, but some of it might not. Okay, all right, but some of it is.
she said they use Chinese words.
Yes?
Were the students practicing at their desks?
Yes, they were.
They were wetting the tip of the brush, drying the tip of the brush, and so they were actively involved, even though the camera was just on the teacher.
Exactly, and the camera person was me, and they were really everyone, the staff, all the teachers were really intent on having me do this at the same time and helping me hold the brush, and here I was with the camera with this hand and doing it this way. So I didn't have time to actually get the students, and I wish I did, but I was so engrossed with this and trying to make sure. But yes, all the students were there at the desk, following along, saying it with her and doing it. Yes. Any other ideas? Yes, target language. Anything else?
Authentic materials.
Yes? Yes?
We were talking about authentic, but at least from our perspective, listening to this, it seems to be one way or on one direction. That is, the teacher speaking, but you're not. And that's what I see a lot in the programs, right? You come in and they get really good at listening to the target language, but they're not producing it. But again, it might have to do with the task at hand here. So.
Yeah, and the students were following along and then also saying it. So as they were listening to it, and then there were times that, I know it might be a little bit later on in the video, but she would say it and the students were doing it. So it's not, in the beginning they might have been doing it as she did it, but in time she said it and they did it. So that shows comprehension, you know, because they were following her words. Yes?
Is there more of this video online, or is there just this much of it?
Yeah.
What you're describing to us now, things that we didn't yet, or at least I didn't yet see in the video. So I'm thinking of using your video as a teaching tool, exactly the way you're using it now. It'd be handy to know, using it as a tool, is there more of it online for you to use as a tool, or this is what there is?
I have two pieces of this video. The second excerpt is longer. I could see if I can make it available. This was many years ago, I'd say probably around 2009, and it was taken during my site visit. I would get some permissions from those folks, but I'll see if StarTalk wants to take it. I really liked it, and I mean, I came away fascinated with it and thought it was a wonderful explanation of how to do art, because so many programs will have an art culture piece. And this person, if I recall, was brought in from the community. Obviously a native speaker, and wasn't sure how to do this, and of course didn't believe that people could understand and follow along if she did it in the target language. So she worked with the directors of the program of how to integrate it, and then she taught it. So this is a good demonstration of how to do art and culture entirely in the target language and have the students understand. Yes?
At any point did she break it up so that the students were giving the commands to each other rather than her always giving the commands? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or is like you dip the brush, you know.
I'm not recalling that right now, but that might have been a little bit later in the video. Any other principals? Yes, sir.
I did in my class about brush painting, and I put classical music as a background. So that's like culture and content.
Yes.
Students not only learn how to write a calligraphy, but also learn how to quiet and learn the tempo.
Excellent. I like doing that myself. I like using music in the background.
Integrate language content as well.
Excellent idea. Any other thoughts about it? Okay. Now we'll go a little bit deeper. Let's take a look now at the StarTalk endorsed principles and practice. This document shows some samples of evidence and also non-evidence. And it shows the StarTalk endorsed principle. It's aligned with the TEL domain, and it gives a variety of criteria along with some classroom look-fors. I consider this sort of the launching pad, the starting point document for implementation, because along with this, you'll see that the other tools we have are wonderful pairings, that you could give teachers this document and then another one that we're going to show, because this really does a good explanation of each StarTalk principle, and then what would be evidence and non-evidence. A lot of people read the evidence and they say, okay, I understand that, but maybe not necessarily non-evidence. So if they see a piece of non-evidence, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that wasn't evidence. All right, so this gives a good side-by-side depiction. So let's take a couple of minutes to look at this document. You'll see all the principles there, and the examples of evidence and non-evidence. And we could take a couple of minutes to do that and share some ideas at your table. To keep this tool in sync with some of the other materials that you had, we made some of the examples and non-examples align with the Milan document. So again, you can make really good pairings between that annotated that annotated template, and then also this piece so they can see it, and use it as a complete alignment. I just want to take a look at a couple of these examples here before we move on. For instance, implementing the standards-based curriculum. For instance, non-evidence, the topic is family, but there's no theme evident. All right. Then the next one, the evidence learning target conveyed specific can-dos, focus on talking about family and pets. Non-evidence would be, well, the can-dos are listed there, but the actual classroom activities were completely non-related tasks. They didn't have anything to do with family and pets, all right? Which is something that, that we'll see a lot. Very often it's there in the can-do statements, but it doesn't relate to what actually we saw in the classroom. So in teacher training, part of using this document in preparation and making the lesson plan is if it's there, now what does it look like in implementation, all right? So coupled with this, pairing this with some of our observation tools and our look-fors, it'll be very easy then for that instructional lead to say, okay, there's not an alignment here. What you said was what you were gonna do wasn't happening there in the implementation. What happened? Now I'd like us to use this document and watch this excerpt of this video. While you watch, let's again take a look. You can pick a couple of principles that particularly speak to you that you might want to work on, or look at it in general and try to find any and all principles that you find. So as you watch this video, let's try to find evidence. What are evidence of the different principles? And then we can talk at our tables. You might want to jot them down. But again, we're going to look for evidence in this video of the different STARTALK principles.
衣服，买衣服，一件衣服，一件衣服，大家看，这是我的衣服，这是孙老师的衣服，这是孙老师的衣服，穿上这件衣服，好，我把这件衣服穿上，对不对？所以这件衣服呢是中国式的，一起说唐装，这是唐装。唐装，你看这有疙瘩帕儿，对不对？大家再看这里边，我们看有很多，对不对？唐装，一起说旗袍，旗袍，哎，这是什么颜色的旗袍？什么颜色的旗袍？红色的。这是什么颜色的旗袍？黑色的。孙老师，这是什么？上衣，这是我的上衣，对不对？那我们下面还有很多衣服。好不好？去穿唐装，女孩子站起来，女孩子去穿唐装，快，好，穿上中国的旗袍。好，你帮她好吗？你帮她好吗？我帮你。你帮她。那么他们在试衣服。她穿什么样的衣服？今天她穿什么样的衣服？唐装。她的上衣是什么上衣？唐装。还有她还穿什么衣服？红色的旗袍。她穿的是红色的旗袍，是不是很漂亮？通常中国人没有袖子，她这里没有，她这是短袖，对不对？短袖。好，那曾珍妮她还穿什么衣服？白色的鞋子。什么鞋子？运动鞋。对不对？运动鞋。好。你穿什么衣服？我穿衣服，还有
今天我穿一件灰色的一双的衣服，橘色的围巾。你好。
欢迎，请你们看，你想买什么？你想买什么？
这件衬衫多少钱？
这是睡衣，睡觉穿的睡衣，所以
我们都需要对，
要买睡衣。这件睡衣 30块人民币。
哎呀，
太
太贵了，
太贵吗30块
走了，走了，
走了
太贵
走了
回来，回来。哦，你看一下，你看一下，哦，很好，行，看到很好，很好，很好的。这个名哦，不好意思，这个名牌很好哦，没有名牌，
没有名牌，可是颜色很漂亮。
This is a heavily edited excerpt of this video from One World Now. You can find the entire video on the StarTalk website. So let's take a few minutes now to talk at your tables about the StarTalk principles you saw, but most importantly, what evidence did you see of the StarTalk principles in action? Okay, let's bring it on back. Wow, a lot of really good discussion at the tables. So let's hear StarTalk principles, and then most importantly, what evidence did you see in the videos of the StarTalk principles in action? Yes?
Student active participation in the test.
Okay, so you would say student-centered instruction? Learner-centered instruction, good. Yes, very much so. More?
Use of the target language with authentic materials.
Yes, use of authentic materials, target language instruction, and comprehensible. Yes.
And also lots of repetitions of why she was teaching.
And of course it was integration of culture, content, and language.
Yes. More? Yes, please.
The assessment, and that she was conducting numerous forms of assessment throughout.
Exactly. Yeah. We got to see, I believe, three modes. The three modes right there: interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational in that excerpt. And please, I invite you to watch the entire thing. It's quite good. They're all on the website. Anything else?
Yes, students were able to negotiate when they were, doing the role play, or, when they were buying and selling the clothes.
Exactly.
They're like higher level than I guess. They're not novice. They are novice high.
She really moved them through. That's right, and it's a wonderful example of that target proficiency level. So the tasks that she was doing, particularly those performance-based assessment, move them closer to that goal. That's right. And negotiation and meaning, that's a really great interpersonal mode task. Yes. Yes, Antonia.
We also saw the perfect demonstration of the structure. I do,
we do, and you do. Yes. I do, we do, and you do. That's right.
And that is illustrated on one of those fact sheets that it's, I think, on the learner-centered one, yes. And that's that middle part, and that's, I think, all in your folders. That middle part is a pivotal piece of that illustration. So I'm glad you brought that up, Antonia. One of the things that I had noticed, I was talking to the far table, because I have seen the whole video. And one of the things that she does very, very effectively is teach incidental vocabulary that they didn't plan on getting. You might have seen the one part when she was talking about the sleeves. And did you notice, you wanted to notice what the students were doing. I mean, they were keying in on that very, very quickly because the context was so clear. And when we talk about vocabulary acquisition, the idea that there are times when you want to use things that aren't in the lesson, and a lot of it, you feel that you're sort of on a roll when you're doing that. The students are heavily engaged, very focused. And we think that that's how vocabulary acquisition, incidental vocabulary acquisition occurs. So that was a good point.
Any other comments about the video and our principles? So showing this video, we're hoping that maybe you might use videos like this along with this tool with your teachers in teacher training program, but also in professional development for your teachers in the student program. What this might look like, and then use it then in tandem with the tools. So we have more of these coming up. Next is the Classroom Look-Fors tool. And I believe you can make really great pairings. And I think about pairings, there's all kind of pairings we can make, right? But these pairings, again, with the STARTALK principles in practice and these tools that are coming up, you can use them together. And I think it's great that teachers use them together so they have all the principles there on one hand, and then now they can use the tool.
Okay.
Yep. Now, these are classroom look-fors, and this will be, this is helpful, okay, effectiveness for lesson planning, other learning experiences, and providing feedback. So this is good for peer observation, self-assessment. Now, so if you have a group of teachers and maybe they're doing some micro-teaching with each other, this is a tool that after they have the idea of the principles, they might use this tool then for peer observation. So again, on the left-hand side, you see the practice and then the evidence. And your teachers would have to put in the evidence of these look-fors. And they're there, they're all there in the, all the principles are there. So practice and evidence. So the statements might happen in a lesson, maybe might not happen in all the lessons, but the idea is that the teachers are providing evidence of the STARTALK principles in action. Okay, so let's take a minute or so to look at this one. You may notice that we're focusing a lot on evidence. So not just the practice itself, but what does it look like in that particular individual lesson. It's because I think a lot of teachers might know just the generic practice, but not necessarily be able to articulate what that evidence looks like. It also is in keeping with, sometimes we get a lot of templates and we get lesson plans that aren't specific enough. All right, the detail is not there. It's written in a very general sense, but we don't get a sense necessarily of what the students will be doing. All right, sometimes when team leaders receive those templates, and then when we look at the lesson plans, we really don't have a clear idea of what's going to happen in the classroom. What will the students do? So this looks at that specificity, asks for it, okay, in terms of the evidence. All right, so I hope this will be helpful to your teachers, so you can really grasp at those specifics. So you've had a chance to look at the sheet. Are there any questions about the sheet? Yes?
Clarification. So this one is on the STARTALK website?
All of these are on the STARTALK website. Yep. They're all on the STARTALK website. I think some people are on their computer and have already found them right on the website. So all the tools are there in an area marked TeacherFolio. Yes?
Could you give us a sample on the website eventually of this with samples filled in? And that might help us see what is the extent of detail that you would like in the evidence column.
That is
different language and just have some specifics.
That is excellent feedback. Some of the pieces of evidence are on that sheet, principles and practice, so you can see each STARTALK principle, and then there's evidence and non-evidence. But if you think some additional examples are a good idea, we can pass that along, and that will be wonderful feedback that we get after the summer, to be able to make those changes. That's a great idea.
Give us a set in Arabic.
To have those different pieces of evidence in a variety of languages. Okay, all right, point taken. Yeah. Okay. The next classroom video clip comes from the Annenberg videos, and I wanted to take us out of the STARTALK languages for a moment, for a variety of reasons. But I think one of the most important ones is sometimes teacher programs may want to show videos that are not STARTALK languages. And this is often because teachers might focus on the use of the language, or maybe how the teacher is using the grammar or the pronunciation, what have you. But when you use a video showing a classroom other than the language that you're teaching, now you can really focus on the pedagogy, you can focus more on the principles and those evidence when you kind of pull away from your own target language. So the Annenberg videos they have some videos in the STARTALK languages, but I love to use the ones that are of a different language just for that reason. So you may choose to do this for your teacher training program, and it's wonderful to show them something different because now they're really focusing on the principles in action. So we're going to watch this clip, Hearing Authentic Voices. While you watch, just take down the evidence you see of that principle, okay? And then all together we'll discuss the evidence and decide why you aligned it with that principle. What did you notice?
Ahora, clase, van a trabajar en grupos de 4. No se olviden nuestro objetivo. Vamos a hablar de qué hacen los jóvenes en su tiempo libre para divertirse, qué hacen los sábados, los domingos, después de la escuela. ¿Me entienden? Ya tienen marcadores y les voy a dar papel. En el papel vamos a escribir una lista de qué hacen los estudiantes norteamericanos en su tiempo libre. Dime un ejemplo. Levanta la mano. Dime un ejemplo de algo que vamos a escribir en la lista. ¿Qué hacen? Número 1. Danielita.
Nadar en la piscina.
Sí, van a la piscina. Otra cosa. Sí, justo.
Ir al centro comercial.
Centro comercial. Van al centro comercial. ¿Entienden? Escriban una lista. Aquí viene el papel. Mira, necesitamos una persona para escribir. Necesitamos una persona para mirar el reloj. ¿Me entienden? Necesitamos una persona para hablar y otra persona para hablar. Entonces, 3 minutos. Adelante. Una línea. En español, claro que sí. Hablen español, hablen español. No hablen inglés, hablen español.
Vamos. Vamos ir al centro comercial. Vamos al cine. El restaurante. Y restaurante. U-R-A-N-T-E.
Part of the lesson included the students brainstorming and making a list of activities that they do in their free time. Ok, tenemos, van al cine. Excelente, jugar videojuegos. ¿Qué más? Deportes, jugar deportes. ¿Qué deporte? Fútbol. Béisbol. Fútbol norteamericano, como los Eagles. Woohoo. ¿Qué más? When I see what the students are doing, I kind of redirect them and get them on task. For example, some students, when they were making that list, they just wrote, we go to the pool, we go to the movies.
Van a nadar en la piscina.
So my focus, what do you do at the restaurant? What do you do at the movies?
Van al centro comercial con amigos los domingos. Van al cine con amigos. Mirar la televisión. Van a fiestas, leer los libros en biblioteca. Van a ballet, comprar los ropas.
Clase, por favor, presten atención aquí. Ok, tienen que mirar la lista. Tienen que leer la lista. Díganme 2 cosas de la lista. Las mejores cosas que tienen. Ok, pero yo quiero 2 cosas de la lista, pero no quiero repeticiones. No repeticiones. Benjamín, dígame uno de la lista. Algo bueno, algo excelente.
Mirar el televisión.
Está bien. Si Benjamín dice mirar la televisión, Daniela no puede decir mirar la televisión. After the brainstorming activity, I wanted the students to share some of their findings, and I also wanted them to listen to what the other students were saying. Vamos aquí a este grupo. Yo quiero oír de Silvana y también Cristina. I wasn't expecting some of the detail that I got, which I was very pleased with, because, you know, it's always details, details, details. Stretch it, give me more, dime más, dime más.
Van al restaurante.
Sí. Silvana, ¿qué hacen en el restaurante?
Comer comida de italiano.
Comida italiana. Está bien. Otra, Cristina, no repitan.
Vamos a la biblioteca.
¿Y qué hacen en la biblioteca?
Estudiar.
Estudiar. Está bien. Vamos a continuar, por favor. Aquí, Claudia y también Carolina.
Van al cine. Van al gimnasio.
Está bien. What they do in their free time with their friends.
Me gusta divertirme mucho con la familia y con las amigas. No más, me gusta divertirme.
Pues me gusta pasar con mis amigos, vamos a la playa.
Bueno, ¿qué hacen ellos? Levanta la mano. ¿Qué hacen ellos? ¿Qué actividades hacen los estudiantes de otros países donde hablan español? ¿Qué hacen? Sí, Clara.
Van a la playa.
A la playa, excelente, sí. ¿Qué más? ¿Sí, Cecilia?
Jugar al fútbol.
Oh, sí, clase. El fútbol es muy popular en los países donde hablan español, ¿sí o no? Sí. Sí, es muy, muy popular. ¿Qué más? Carlos?
Ir al parque.
Sí, ellos van al parque. Ahora, clase, en grupos de 4, por favor, hablen en español de algunas preguntas que puedes preguntar a una persona de otro país. ¿De qué hacen en su tiempo libre? Ustedes pueden escribir las preguntas aquí, en este lado del papel, ¿ok? Algunas 2 o 3 preguntas en español. Adelante.
¿Qué te gusta el comida?
Say what?
El comida.
¿Qué favorita
Evento en ciudad, en your city.
en tu ciudad?
¿Qué hacen todos los fines de semana?
¿Te gustas el videojuegos?
¿Te gusta? ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántas personas hay familiar? What else? ¿Estás?
We wanted to make it more specific by bringing in some students from Mexico so that my students would see firsthand. ¿Quién quiere comenzar? ¿Quién quiere empezar? Damas primero.
Bueno, pues nosotros vamos a la escuela. Es normal como aquí. Y saliendo de la escuela nos vamos a la casa. Llegamos a comer o a hacer lo que nos manden nuestras mamás. Después...
Los quehaceres, lo que manden las mamás.
Sí.
¿Cómo qué?
Como recoger el cuarto.
Ajá, el cuarto, limpiar el cuarto, ¿qué más?
Let's take a few minutes in our groups again to talk about what STARTALK principles you saw in action, and using this peer self-assessment tool, what evidence, if you were watching this as a peer, what evidence would you say you saw in your peers' micro-teaching? Okay, we'll bring it on back. The tool you're receiving now is a peer self-assessment observation tool. You have been using the look-fors to watch the video. This next tool actually is the observation tool. Very often when the team leaders go on site visits, we see a variety of all different kinds of observation tools, or sometimes not at all. But the observation tools that we see are not aligned with the STARTALK principles and don't look at planning, assessment, and learning experiences. Sometimes there are tools that look at just teaching in general and aren't even world language, don't even have world language look-fors or objectives. So we thought this would be helpful to you. So as you look at this one, in this one, you'll see it says facilitating a learner-centered classroom. We do have the rest of them, but this one I think is there just because of the other tool that we created, and we wanted to focus on this. But you'll see again, it has practice and then examples for evidence. All right, so this is a nice pairing to do when you're actually doing the observation, when the instructional lead may be looking at an actual practicum that your teacher trainees are doing. So talking about that video, hearing authentic voices, your ideas of evidence. Where did you see the STARTALK principles in evidence? And let's try to give some really detailed examples.
In the video, right?
In the video, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all interpersonal and all modes, we observe in the video.
See self-performance-based assessment. Yes. Okay. What were some examples of the performance-based assessment tasks that you saw There were a variety of different ones that you saw. Can anyone pinpoint certain examples?
Where the teacher was giving instruction to write down and like 3 points, and then the kids were presenting it.
Right, okay. All right. So yes, they did present out. They did present out what they worked on. What about when they were with each other, and writing down what students do in their free time? That was in the target language. Spontaneous, unscripted, so a nice interpersonal mode task. All right, so we saw that. Anything else? Any other STARTALK principle that you saw evidence of?
Target language, of course.
Target language instruction, that's right.
It was learner-centered.
Learner-centered instruction, that's right.
Students collaborate together.
Yes. They work together on that task, that's right. Yes?
I think the teacher provided ongoing feedback and really forced the students to dig deeper into a lot of their questions.
Yes.
And along that same line, hitchhiking what James said earlier, the teacher was getting a lot of feedback too. The activities were planned in such a way that the teacher could do all of these different checks, not only in speaking, but also in writing. So it was very, very effective.
Yes, I was impressed by the way she expanded on the grammar lesson without them noticing it was a grammar lesson. She
That's
never
right.
said it's time for a grammar lesson, but she went from simple statements to broader statements to questions, and she had them use language in different ways.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was, and it moved from what do you like to do, then to questions for the guests, for the culture bearers, which was great. And creating questions like that is a wonderful piece that, they watch the videos and then, okay, here's some ideas that we're seeing, and then come up with questions, which is a great interpretive mode task, which then later on, if you watch the video, they use that then in an interpersonal mode task with those guests that came. That's what comes out directly after in the video. So absolutely. And she moved them through the grammar without them even knowing about it, and asked for more details and got it.
And among the native speaker guests that were used, you don't get any better than that for authentic materials.
Any other noticings? Yes.
That was the most learner-centered of all 3 clips that we saw.
Great.
She modeled every single activity she asked the student to perform. So the students were able to carry out the tasks.
So, and we were discussing that this was probably at the end because there's no evidence of her giving input or new vocabulary. So the students already knew the vocabulary they were going to use. They made lists of things, but obviously they knew the vocabulary.
Yeah, they knew of the different leisure time activities to do. So this might have happened after. But when you look at the materials for this, when you go on the learner.org website, you can see everything that led up to this lesson and how it was done. But I can say this: if that's the final performance assessment and that's what it should look like, then we have a really good indication of what happened before that and all the formative ones that led along the way. And that class, you really see kind of a seamless integration of instruction and assessment. It should kind of look like the same thing. So in order for it to look like this, everything along the way also was presented that way. All right. Yes, please.
What level of Spanish was this?
That was 8th grade. And it was either like a second half of a level 1 or a level 2. When you go on the learner.org website, it tells you the grade and also the level of the student. But I know they were 8th grade.
What website you said?
Learner.org. Learner.org, and you'll go where it says World Languages. And these are all located in an area called K through 12 Library of Classroom Practices. There's about 15 videos of about like 30 to 40 minutes each. You'll see the ancillary materials that go with it, some background about the class, and the preparation before the class that you see. I think it's a really underutilized resource. A lot of people may know about it now, but I still think it's underutilized, and I use it with teacher training. And I know a lot of teachers that actually show this to their students and say, see, See what they're doing, see what you can do. All right, but it is terrific, for all aspects of teacher training, to pull out one particular point, to look at entire class, and it all features performance-based assessment, and every video is target language instruction. All right, and you'll see particularly which modes they focus on, all on the ancillary materials. So learner.org. All right, next we have one more tool. And this is an observation note-taking tool to note what the teacher does and the students do. And this is particular interest because teachers are involved in their process, and they may have certain aspects of their instruction that they want the observer to focus on. So they would tell that observer, okay, here's the feedback that I'm looking for. Please give me the feedback on these particular areas. And for this tool, you'll notice you would put down the teacher actions, what the students are doing, and then any other notes. And if you notice, there are notes that are prose, open-ended commentary, as opposed to a checklist, because very often, sometimes when there's just a checklist, someone may put in their own personal idea of what that item is on the checklist. All right, did I see it? Yeah, I guess I saw it. But when you have an open-ended comment like this, you're then really putting down the detail that teachers need and can actually use. So I just want to briefly show this clip, and then we'll close. Yes?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Those are all very good tools, but if we are observing
I'm sorry? Yeah?
we are observing the live teaching classroom instead of watching the tape.
Mm-hmm.
How can we use the forms at the same time?
How can you use the forms at the same time?
We're not supposed to use them at the same time. The final one.
Right. There's a couple of them that you would use when you're actually watching the practicum, or doing micro-teaching. All right. And see, the design ones have to do with designing the lesson plan. All right. And then the principles in practice describe the evidence and the non-evidence. But there's just a few of these tools that you actually use while you're watching that the observer or the instructional lead would use, or their peers would use with them at the same time. Yeah, so that way they're not sitting and just watching, they're actually doing something with it and taking down the information. Yes?
I just had a suggestion for the peer observation. It would really be helpful if this could be put on the website in various, in the STARTALK languages, because when you're sitting there going, let's see, what does that mean? And then the moment has passed, and so it would really help peer observation if those who are native speakers could see it in their own languages to speed up or help facilitate the observation process.
So let's see, two people have given this fabulous suggestion that we'll pass along. Just a general consensus, does everyone think that's a good idea? Yes, okay, good. Then we'll take it on back and hopefully make it happen. That's fabulous. Okay. I'm not going to show the last clip. It was on US and Italian homes using the note-taking tool, but you can see how these videos can be used in tandem with the tools. And you can find the one on US and Italian homes, same place, learner.org. So suggested pairings for performance. The principles in practice with those classroom look-fors. An excellent pairing to use together. The observation note-taking tool along with the lesson plan checklist. Have the checklist there in front of you from the lesson, and then as you watch, the observation tool. The principles in practice again with the peer tool. All right, again, a very nice pairing to use. Use the pairs, mix and match according to what your teachers need. Again, we really hope that these are helpful to you, and we'll really have the teachers focus quite specifically on what evidence they can demonstrate and what the students can show Any other questions that you might have? Yes?
Jennifer, just to clarify, these are on the website under resources?
Are they under, did you have to go to resources first, those people that, that found them? Or is it on a different page? I know the page says TeacherFolio and it's all there, but did you hit resources first?
Resources and then teacher.
Adam?
Yeah, Adam?
If you go to STARTALK resources, on the left side it'll say teacher developments, and then below that you'll see teacher development resources. It's the second link down.
Thanks, Adam. And again, we're looking for participants for the pilot. These tools are voluntary. We hope that you use them, but we're looking to do a pilot this summer of the TeacherFolio tools. And we'll be looking specifically on which tools were most helpful to you and your teachers, how you use the tools. Maybe there's different ways that we haven't thought of that you use them, and then you'll tell us that. And then feedback to us from revisions, and we already have some today. All right, so if you want to participate, let us know now, or you can email me or Mike, and just let us know if you want to participate in the pilot this summer. Any other questions?
Marjorie, did you have a question? Okay.
Thanks, Marjorie. Yes? You'll volunteer? Okay, come up and see us. Thank you so much. We hope this was helpful. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks for your participation.